Today, I'm going to flip conventional online guru wisdom on its head and show you the actual truth of guys that are able to make multiple six figures and then hit seven figures purely by leveraging these few points that I'm going to walk you through here today. And it is so important because you are probably just listening to regurgitated crap online of what people think that you want to hear instead of telling you their actual truths of what they've experienced. That's what I'm going to share with you here today. And this is coming from somebody who has experienced a good amount of success for somebody in my age bracket. I'm in my 20s. I've become a professional athlete. I've built a multiple six-figure marketing agency. And the first thing is that your willingness to fail and sacrifice will directly correlate with your ability to succeed to the level of which you want to hit. So the more success you want, the more you need to sacrifice and the more you need to fail. That's just the game. You need to think of these as prerequisites to get to where you want to go. Because most people, as soon as they experience two or three setbacks, they just throw in the towel and they're done. They're like, I can't do this. It's better to be comfortable and not take any risks. But I will tell you that not taking a risk at all is the biggest risk that you could take. And I was going to save that for my third point, but now you're getting it as part of point number one. So it's true because there's two parts to the equation. You need to sacrifice and you need to fail. And sometimes you will sacrifice things thinking that it will get you success and you'll still fail. That's how this game goes. I know guys that have made multiple $1 million from their coaching companies, agencies, and they've climbed up the mountain, they've seen some success, and then they had to come back down in order to recalibrate who they are and become the guy who was making multiple six and even seven figures to make even more. And if that's what they want, that's what they want. Or they come back and they have a complete realignment of realizing that maybe I don't want all this money, but I would love to actually enjoy some of the freedom while still building something that's fulfilling to me. And they have to come back down and recalibrate and basically filter out the parts of themselves they need to sacrifice. This could be old habits, old thought processes, old beliefs, right? We shape ourselves to this world so much in our environments of what we're exposed to that we continue to, as a malleable person, mind, and soul would, adapt to those things, right? But sometimes we need to change things up mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything in order to become the next person that we want to be. And most times that is sacrificing certain things of yourself. It's not going out buying booth and bottles on the weekend for $200-300, which I don't even know if that's what it costs anymore. I haven't been in so long. It's probably like way more money than that now. But you're spending all your time and money on that, and it's not actually getting you closer to the person you see yourself becoming. That is a problem. You need to sacrifice the old self. This can come in different forms of relationships as well. This can come in different forms of just habits. Maybe you don't go to bed on time or wake up at a good time as well. And I'm not saying you need to wake up at 5 a.m., right? You don't need to be the guy doing laps around the park at 3 in the morning just because you're like, I got to get up this early to be successful. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you at least need to wake up with some drive. You need to wake up with some purpose, some just fire inside of you to move forward and not let the things of this world distract you. Waking up, scrolling on your phone, and being a slave to the algorithm as soon as you wake up, that's a problem. You need to sacrifice the old self, right? Again, I'm not saying you can never do these things. I'm not saying you can never go back out to the clubs again. I'm not saying you can never scroll on your phone. You're human at the end of the day, right? And there is going to be some variations in different seasons of your life. But for a season where you need to lock in and you really want to be successful and level up from a guy that's making 5 figures to 6 figures, 6 to 7, there are going to be sacrifices whether you like it or not, and that's just the game. And on way to that level of success, there are going to be failures. You are going to look stupid in front of somebody. You're going to probably say something stupid. You're probably going to do something stupid. You're going to fail. And I'm not talking about trying something for a week and then chalking it up as a failure on the board. I'm talking about going all in and watching something crumble in front of your eyes and being like, well, at least I gave it my all. That didn't work. But you tried. Because again, if you didn't, you would hold on to so much regret of not taking the risk that would be the greatest risk, staying exactly where you are, or worse, plummeting lower into a downward spiral. So that is the first thing. If you want to endure more success, you must, absolutely must understand that the prerequisites to that level of success that you wish to obtain come with a level of sacrifice and failure. And that's just the game. That's the first thing. The second thing is going to be more so how you interact with the world, specifically with other people. Now, most people don't have your best interests at heart. Most people. There are a select few, and those are the people you actually have to keep in your life. But the ones that mostly don't care, that you think care, they actually don't. And you're putting too much energy into what other people think, into showing up a certain way for other people. This could be in a job, this could be in a relationship, in a friendship, something where you think you need to act and perform a certain way that's actually deterring you from becoming the person you need to be at the next level. And again, you're thinking that other people have your best interests at heart. They don't. They would rather see you in a way that they view you in their mind and keep you in this conformity box. Meaning, let's say, like for myself, for example, I used to be a professional athlete. I used to be a hockey player for 20 years of my life. I was known as the hockey guy. Okay? And that was my identity. And that's how everybody in my life viewed me as, was the hockey guy. The second I started stepping out of that box, business, entrepreneurship, I started learning skills like copywriting, sales, marketing, all these different things, right? Other people started to view me differently, and that's where judgment started coming out. And now the judgment, you need to understand this so that it doesn't mess with your mind, is that it's other people's projections of you and themselves. So they are projecting you in a certain way in that conformity box that you're now stepping out of. You cannot worry about that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The other part is that they see that you are leveling up, you are transforming, and they are not. They have stayed in their own conformity box, a level of comfort that they're happy with, and that's fine for them. But they're now projecting their insecurities, their unwillingness to go through the failure and sacrifices onto you. Because why are you moving out of the conformity box? We're supposed to be here, and that's how I view you. So therefore, their judgment starts to come out. Now, this is something that happens quite often, right? And you'll start to notice it in different relationships. It might not be very apparent at first, but it comes in the form of little comments that are made. It's maybe a little passive aggressive. Maybe you're at a family gathering, people are judging you in certain ways. You can hear the way that people are asking questions, and there's underlying thoughts behind them that as to why they're asking those questions. There's levels of judgment, and you have to let those things go. That goes back to point number one of levels of sacrifice in order to get to where you want to go. Sometimes it just means not associating yourself with those type of people anymore. And it's not out of a malicious way, it's out of love. It's like, I'm not even going to best serve you anymore because I'm no longer that person that you view me as. I'm somebody who is now transforming into somebody that is of higher value, of more value to the world, to different people. And then you will find your people. I promise you. When I moved here to the condo that I'm in now, this is a few years ago now, and I started trying to find more young entrepreneurs in their 20s like myself. And I went to like one networking event, and I found all these different people were like, they're not really kind of my vibe. But there was one dude, just one person that stood out. And he's one of my buddies down here, and we have a great relationship. And he's killing it, and we bounce ideas off each other, we mastermind, we learn, we come up with different ideas on how we can potentially work together and collaborate, like all these different things. From one simple connection of just finding somebody, stepping out of my old comfort zone, finding somebody who is more alike minded to me. And that's keeping my best interests at heart, right? Again, most people don't have your best interests at heart, but you need to keep your best interests at heart, finding those type of people that are more like you, that ultimately will care about if you succeed or not, and hold you accountable if need be. And that's a huge part of your environment, massive part of your environment. So those two things are really imperative. I'm telling you, a lot of it just comes down to how you operate. It's your habits of what you do on a daily basis, how you think, how you act, who you surround yourself with, and where you live. Those are typically what will dictate a majority of how your life really develops and just happens on a daily basis. There's other things that you can't control, right? There might be an illness in the family, or you might come across something that you didn't expect was going to come up health-wise. Those things are kind of outlier factors of life that might come in every now and then that you can't control. But the things that you can control are directly correlated to the outcome of what you will experience in life. And if you're not happy with where you're at, whether you be a 5-figure entrepreneur, a 6-figure entrepreneur, you want to become a 7-figure entrepreneur, there are habits that you need to let go. And your ego is keeping you where you think you're comfortable at when you're not, because there's a misalignment from where you are to where you want to go. And this is why you don't feel fulfilled. This is why you feel burnt out. This is why you these are all feelings, not logical expression of what's actually going on, but these are all feelings of how you're operating on a daily basis. So therefore you're out of alignment of the person that you need to become, because your ego is going to keep you safe. You make 20 grand a month and you think you're killing it. You're still a small fish in the pond if that's the game that you're looking to play. But you're going to tell yourself, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, knowing that you're not, because if you're questioning why you're not at another level, it's because you're still doing the same things that a 20K per month person is doing, which are the same habits that keep you there. So if you want to level up, if you want to see another level of success, then it becomes, how do I change who I am today? And this might be uncomfortable for you, which is where growth is born, is in the uncomfortable. And it's going to be uncomfortable for people around you, especially if they've been watching you grow or they haven't watched you grow. And they're going to start seeing, wow, this guy's acting different. This guy's moving different. There's something up about this guy. And you're going to get one of two reactions. You're going to get the guy that's going to be your best buddy about it, be like, dude, like, I love how you've been, you've been thinking, acting differently, like, good for you, like, and they're hyping you up, they're on your side. And there's the other side, you're gonna hear those judgments. You're gonna hear people making comments, oh, just do what you do, do this, man, just do that, like, don't take that risk. And these are people that you need to decide at the end of the day, is it worth keeping, or do I need to stray away a little bit? Now, I'm not saying you need to maliciously cut people off, just to end this on a good note. I learned this from a coach years ago. All right, I think my camera's done overheating. We're back. Anyways, 3 buckets you can put people into. The first one is going to be the 3-minute bucket. The second is the 3-hour bucket. And the third is the 3-day bucket. Now, you get to determine which bucket you put people in, and they can move up or down this ladder depending on your transformation or theirs. That's the beauty of this. So if somebody is in the 3-minute bucket, this means you can only really spend a little bit of time with them, because ultimately there's not much alignment. There's no a ton of value being exchanged. I mean, really, the mindsets are completely different. This is people you just wouldn't associate yourself with, but maybe it's a cordial, respectful interaction in some sense, right? Nothing wrong with that. But maybe you meet them once again and they've kind of leveled up since then. Maybe they started getting into a specific industry that you're interested in, and you can kind of trade ideas, and now their mindset's a little bit different, and they have a more positive and optimistic and realistic view on the world. Oh, well, now our conversations tend to align a little bit more. Maybe I do want to spend a little bit more time with this person, and they have a good mindset around what it is that we do. Now you can move them to the 3-hour bucket. You see how this works? And vice versa. Let's say that maybe over time you've had somebody that was maybe in that 3-day bucket, like a best friend that you used to spend days with, but maybe they veered off the path. They're not really on the same path as you. Well, naturally, you're just not going to spend as much time with them. So maybe they go down to a 3-hour bucket or even a 3-minute bucket. You don't know, right? But it's, again, people think that you just have to completely cut people off and there's never going to be an interaction again. That's completely up to you. But if there is people that obviously you have love and respect for, maybe it's just a matter of putting them from 3-day bucket to the 3-hour bucket, right? And that's just how this rolls. So to kind of recap here, ultimately, you already know what you need to do. But these truths that I'm trying to tell you that you can tactically apply today are very, very simple to do, but it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy, because it's not, but it's very simple. Control your success by sacrificing certain things of yourself, failing more towards the thing that you're working towards, and then put yourself first. Prioritize your self-improvement in order to be better for people and find people just like you. Control your environment, control your thoughts, control how you act. If you can control the controllables, you'll control your outcomes. That's just how this goes. And then lastly, take more risks, because there's the third point, not taking any risks is the biggest risk that you could potentially ever face. Cheers.